1, 2, 3. Başlattım.
Merhabalar. GEMSS'in 2021 edisyonunu değerlendirmek üzere çok kıymetli seçici kurul üyeleriyle birlikteyiz. Şebnem, Yalınay, Çinici, Pelin, Derviş ve Murat, Germen. Tülin, Hadi, Ömer, Selçuk ve Luca, Molinari başka sebeplerle gelemediler. Onlara da buradan sevgilerimizi iletiyoruz. Serbest formatta bu seçim sürecini GEMSS'in şu anki kurulun görev aldığı edisyondaki sonuçlarının izlenimlerini ve belki gelecek edisyonları tasarlayacak ya da içinde olacak kişilere not düşecek şekilde nasıl bir yere doğru gitmeli gibi iki ayaklı bir sohbet gerçekleştireceğiz. İlk önce şeyle başlamak iyi olur. Ben biraz daha geçmişe giderek ilk edisyonda profesyonel yapı yapan mimarlara odaklıydı ve orada bireysel başvurular oluyordu. Ortak ekiplerin, ortak mimar pratiklerinin katılımında kapalıydı adeta. Adeta değil, kapalıydı. 3 kişi ortaklı bir şeyden 3 tane ayrı portfolyo istenerek başvurmak gibi bir süreç vardı. Onlar genişletildi. Grup başvuruları mümkün oldu ve birlikte de bu kuruldaki değerli kişilerin de gözetiminde fikir paylaşımlarıyla daha katılımcı bir katılım koşulları, şartları yazdık ve sadece profesyonel bina yapan mimarlar haricinde akademik çalışmalar yapan, araştırmalar yapan, mimari temsile odaklanan pek çok yayın yapmış, yaptığı işleri dünyayla paylaşmış 40 yaş altı mimarlara açık bir süreç yaşandı. Şimdi bu katılım koşulları ve ortaya çıkan seçki hakkında neler düşünüyor seçici kurul üyeleri? Onlara tek tek kim söz almak isterse ben vermeyeyim. Size veriyorum.
Nasıl başlayalım?
Şebnem, senle başlayalım. Benim ekranımda sol üstte sen gözüküyorsun. Biliyorum herkes farklı yerde görünebiliyor.
Tamam, ben şöyle kısaca belki kendi açımdan bir değerlendirmeyle başlayayım. Sonra zaten hep beraber konuşarak da devam ederiz. Bu GEMSS'in bu sene yaptığımız, daha doğrusu 2021'de yaptığımız değerlendirmesi ve ön şartnamesini de hazırlarken nasıl bir değişiklik yapalım konusundaki tartışmalarımız bizi çok daha geniş bir perspektife doğru açma konusunda da aslında başka bir alan değerlendirmesine doğru da çekti diyebilirim. Bu belki hem jürinin formasyonunda da bu çeşitliliğin var olmasıyla da gelişmiş oldu. Hem de sanıyorum her birimiz mimarlığın hem böyle fiziksel kendini gerçekleştirme alanları hem de fikri alanları ve bunların uygulama belki spektrumu ve yelpazesine baktığımız zaman çok çeşitli olduğunu, sadece yapı ve bunun inşai karşılığıyla karşılanmasının bir anlamda yeterli kalmayacağı, özellikle de genç bir perspektife baktığımızda 40 yaş altı tabii gençlik şeyimiz değişebilir ama 40 yaş altındaki profesyonel olan kişilere baktığımız zaman biz buradaki çeşitliliği de nasıl öne çıkartabiliriz, nasıl görebiliriz, görmeye devam edebiliriz ve kendi belki değerlendirmemizden de mimarlığa katkı sunan bir miktar daha belki farklı yaratıcı pratiklerle, daha çoğulcu bir bakışla, biraz daha kapsayıcı, sadece belki inşaat sektöründe ve tasarım ve inşaat sektöründe var olan mimarlar profilinde değil de bir miktar daha belki bunun sanatsal kısmında yer alabilen, akademik kısmında yer alabilen, daha tasarım alanlarında yer alabilen, yayın veya daha temsili ortamlarında yer alabilen, araştırma, malzeme araştırmalarına yönelebilen gruplar ve kişileri de bir miktar biz hem görünür kılmak hem de belki oradaki çalışmaların mimarlık ilişkisindeki tartışmasını da genişletmeyi de istedik. Yani bu genç katılımda genişletmeyi de istedik. O açıdan yani bizler açısından, kendi açımdan da şöyle özel olarak da söyleyebilirim. Aslında çok hem zor hem de çok keyifli oldu. Yani o seçim sürecinin kendisi çok kolay olmadı. Çünkü belli işte yapı, mimari, belki hani katkı değer diye baktığımız zaman biraz daha alışageldiğimiz bir değerlendirme süreciyle baş başa kalabiliyoruz ama bu perspektifi genişlettiğimiz zaman ve bunun belki hani değişkenlerini çoğaltmaya başladığımız zaman bu seçkinin kendisi de kendi aramızda hani pek çok tartışmayı da getirdi. Ve orada da katılımcılara baktığımızda da bir denge kurma gibi bir sorumluluğu da getirmeye başladı. Yani ağırlığı belki bir kanalda tutmadan nasıl biraz daha eşit dağılan bir değerlendirmeyi de mümkün kılabiliriz. Bunun üzerine de aslında bayağı bir hani aramızda tartıştığımız ve daha titizlikle üzerinde durmaya çalıştığımız bir parçası oldu. Bu noktada ben biraz belki durabilirim eminim.
Harikasın. Zaten söz bırakmadın ki. Ben de kişisel bir notla katılayım isterseniz. Şebnem'in söylediklerini biraz ben nasıl gördüm, hatta deneyimledim. Bizim teknik üniversitede okul açıldığında birinci sınıf öğrencilerine işte mimarlık alanında çalışmalar yapan kişiler okula davet edilir. Ben de mimarlığı başka bir alanda icra eden bir numune olarak davet edilirim. Ve de hani benim okuduğum dönemde de sonrasında da uzun bir süre hayat sanki ikiye ayrılmış gibidir. Yani mimarlık pratiği ve akademik yaşam gibi. Şimdi artık bunlar da biraz bizlerle birlikte biz yaş aldıkça geride kalan şeyler olmaya başladı. Gerçekler olmaya başladı. Yani bunlar gerçeklerdi. Böyle ayrımlar vardı. Yani akademik olan, olmayan. Mimarlık yapan, daha düşünsel alanda çalışan veya hatta işte mimarlık yapan ve yapmayan mimarlar özeti gibi. Ama galiba geldiğimiz dünyada, yani geldiğimiz noktada dünyaya baktığımız vakit bu alanlardan artık herhalde söz etmek çok mümkün değil. Hatta mimarlık pratiğini yapı yapma, yapı tasarlama olarak gerçekleştiren ofislere baktığımızda da onların kendi içinde çok çeşitlendiğini görüyoruz. Yani onların da bir diyelim ki bir araştırma konusunu, projelerine konu olan bir araştırma konusunu nasıl ele aldıkları bile birbirleriyle ayrışmalarına neden oluyor. Uzun bir süredir disiplinler arası çalışmalardan söz ediyoruz ve uzun bir süredir bu disiplinler arası çalışmalarda farklı disiplinlerin yan yana gelmesi gibi çalıştı aslında. Yani böyle tam bir iç içe geçiş veya birbirinden faydalanma hala ciddi bir sorun bana sorarsanız. Akademik ortamlarda da dışında da ciddi bir sorun. Bu yani benim de kendi dünyamda hani bu şeyler vardı. Bu soru işaretleri, birikimler, bu değişimleri gözlemek kendi tecrübem. Şeye baktığımız vakitte belki bir sonraki soru muydu o bilmiyorum ama başvuranlara baktığımız vakitte de aslında bu bakış açısının ne kadar yerinde olduğunu da gördük. Yani kurmaya çalıştığımız yapının buna cevap veren o kadar çok örnek vardı ki. Yani benim demin sözünü ettiğim gerçekten yapı tasarlama, yapı uygulama alanında çalışan ofislerin dahi kendi içinde konulara nasıl farklı bakabildiklerine çok şahane örnekler vardı. Kaldı ki diğer diyeceğimiz mimarlık pratiklerinin de yani arşiv oluşturmadan tutun işte çeşitli araştırmalara, sergilemelere, yayınlara ve bunların kapsamlarına varıncaya kadar, bunların iletişimini kurma şekline varıncaya kadar çok yoğun bir aslında üretim olduğunu da gördük. Dolayısıyla da GEMSS'in 2021'deki bu değişiminin önümüzdeki yıllarda da muhtemelen devam edeceğini, önümüzdeki yılların gerçeklerine gene adapte olarak muhtemelen devam edeceğini düşünmek isterim. Bu tazelik bana çok iyi geliyor doğrusu. Yani doğru bildiğimiz sabitlere yapışıp kalmadan hani zamanı da anlayarak, dolayısıyla ortamı kavrayarak, onu bir baz olarak kabul ederek, sürekli kendini tazeleyerek bir sergi ve ne diyelim, ödül sürecini diyelim, çok anlamlı buluyorum doğrusu. Çok mu uzattım bilmem. Ben de burada noktalayayım.
Çok güzel. Tamamlayıcı, o kişisel deneyimlerle birleşince daha da. Murat, senin bir izlenimin var mı?
Şöyle, ben böyle mimarlığı görmek istediğim yerle biraz böyle bazı tanımlar getirerek fikrimi belirtmeye çalışayım ki sanıyorum bir çeşitlilikten bahsetmeye çalışacağım ve GEMSS seçimlerinde de o çeşitlilik oluşturulmaya çalışıldı ve bence iyi de bir sonuç alındı. Daha da tabii ileri götürülebilir. Yani çok kısa böyle bazı notlar aldım şimdi konuşurken. Mesela ne bileyim, çatal bıçaktan köprüye kadar ölçek farklılaşmasının mimarlıkta çok değerli bir şey olduğunu düşünüyorum. Yani şahsen de bir deneyim de yaşadım. Yani mesela hani çok farklı ölçekte tasarımlara imza atabilen Kerem Piker'le bir sergi tasarımı deneyimi yaşadık. Yani ben ona böyle bir çok detaylı bir ihtiyaç listesi verdim. O da bana bir mimar olarak müthiş güzel bir sergi tasarımı hediye etti. Yani bu mesela çok mimarlığın çok faydalı, güzel başka bir ölçekte gündeme gelmesi gibi algılanabilir diye düşünüyorum. Sosyal bilimler ile olan olası bağları çok önemsiyorum. Yani bunu da genellikle böyle kent planlaması aşamasında devreye sokulmaya çalışılır ama sonuç itibariyle biz sadece kentte yaşamıyoruz ki, yani kentte geçirdiğimiz zaman mimarlık yapılarının içinde geçirdiğimiz zamana göre daha az ve dolayısıyla sosyal bilimler ile mimarlığın da mimari tasarımın da bir bağı olması gerekiyor ve oradaki bazı verilere göre bir mimari tasarımın yapılması insani sonuçlar verecektir muhakkak diye düşünüyorum. Yani buradan tabii hani tasarım kadar işleve de önem vermek. Yani ille form işlevi izler kafası değil. Yani form belli zamanlarda bağımsız da kalabilmeli muhakkak. Ama gene de hani işlevini bina yitirmemeli çünkü aslen yani mimarlık bir barınma eylemidir, bir gösteriş eylemi değildir diye düşünüyorum ya da öyle olmamalıdır diye düşünüyorum. Onun ötesinde yani mimarlığın çeşitli yaşam biçimlerine etki yapabilmesi üzerine düşünce üretmek. Yani belki bu demin sosyal bilimlerle olan bağdan kastettiğim oydu. Ve hani o çerçevede yani mimarlıkta ne gibi bir inovasyon ve yeni bir fikir, yeni bir mekan tasarımı, yeni bir mekanların birbirine eklemlenme, sirkülasyon tasarımı olarak bunları nasıl üretebiliriz ki insanların yaşam biçimlerinde acaba fark yaratabilir miyiz diye. Son iki tane daha şey söyleyeceğim. Şimdi nasıl bu David Harvey ve Henri Lefebvre'nin işte kent hakkı diye tanımladığı bir şey var ya kent planlamasında. Ben benzer bir şekilde önermek istiyorum. Yani kamusal yapılarda da kullanıcının mimarlık hakkı, yani müşterinin değil, müşteriyi kastetmiyorum. Parasını, yani binanın oluşması için parayı bastıranı değil de o binayı kendi kararından bağımsız bir şekilde kullanmak zorunda kalan kişinin hakkından bahsediyorum. Yani biraz böyle hani Alejandro Aravena'nın yaptığı, hani ben bir çatkı yapayım, üzerine de kullanıcı kendi mekanını biraz daha hani kişiselleştirebilsin, customize edebilsin, İngilizce olduğu gibi. Belki bu biraz düşünülebilir. Bir de en son olarak içine oturduğu bağlam ile bağlantı kurma heveslisi bir mimarlık. Yani bağlam hiç umurumda değildir. Ben buraya otururum, ondan sonra bağlam düşünsün artık. Tadında bir mimarlığa çok yakın durmuyorum ben. Bu anlamda bir mimarlığı görmek istediğim için de yani GEMSS'te bu anlamda bir çeşitliliğin oluşması beni mutlu etti. Bunu söylemek isterim. Umarım fazla uzatmadım.
Teşekkürler. Now I have to switch to English. Luca is with us. Thank you.
I'm sorry that the time lapse Italy, Turkey, I was...
Same here. I do that all the time.
I'm sorry. I was thinking 8 o'clock, but it's your 8, not mine. So.
Look, it's a pleasant conversation. It's freestyle. I try to moderate, but there's 2 topics. First round was about, this edition, the application criteria was expanded to become more inclusive. Not only, building making architects, but also academicians, researchers, material researchers, many facets or facades of the architectural praxis was included. What do you think about this criteria change, and how did this shine to the selected 14, 15 architects? What was your experience about this, inclusivity? What do you think about it, and how do you see the selection based on this?
Well, I mean, it's well. First of all, thank you for switching to English. Ciao, Pelin. Well, I think that we are in a moment where what we call researchers are something much more interesting than the real project, because the reality is changing so fast, and the pandemic is bringing us so many topics that I think going back to research is fundamental. And so bringing finally practice and academics together, it's one of the steps that every award should do in this moment. I mean, it is a totally stupid separation between what you built and what you think. It's completely uninteresting to me, since we are living in an age where the questions are much more important than the answers. So I personally, I'm looking for the less perfect result, but full of incredible emerging topics, then a well-drawn, well-designed object for a nice render, for a nice exhibition. So I think it's not time anymore to have a runaway of nice drawings, a nice project, but to bring imperfection into the discussion as a part of the reality we are living. So I do think that if you will be able to bring more, to stress more the possibility to have real researchers on the field, this will be very important. The real problem is how to give body to visualize it, to formalize it, because then you see the difference between a project done by a emerging architect, which is used to present a project for award, and traditional research that are more for, let's say, for a circle, for a real academic circle. So they don't need to formalize it. They don't need to transform it into something that you can share with the larger community. But this is good for the young researcher to bring, let's say, theoretical reflection into reality, to transform them into something that you can understand, that you can discuss. So I think that this is really very important, and sometimes good projects that are bringing also good theoretical framing are necessary today. I think that we don't need new languages, we don't need new forms, we need new topics, or we need an improvement, a challenge on what we are living today. We are living such a dramatic reality, which is bringing us so many huge questions that architecture is useful only if it brings a a conceptual upgrade to the discussion, which is on a larger field. No, so this is my personal perception.
So were you happy on that note with the selection of this year?
I think it is the beginning, so I think it can only be improved and it can be explained more. So because you know, the academical fields are not used to that, so because they don't think that it is useful, because academicians react only in terms of average of academic purposes and selection of blind trust, you know, these kind of things that are making you a real academic, no? But if we want to bring the good researchers on the academic field into a larger discussion, I think that the new generation of researchers are more open-minded on that field, and they have a different linguistic and formal and visual reframing, so they are used to transform good ideas into good images or good motto and good elements that can be communicated easily. So I think that it's important to stress it and to make it stronger.
Yeah. So if this was the first round about the impressions of this 2020 GEMSS selection, and maybe I can propose the question, you know, where should GEMSS stand internationally in the future editions? Like, you know, should everybody apply from all nationalities, or no? What do you think about it? Is there a possible niche for GEMSS in the future? What do you think? I mean, I know it's a very complicated topic, but that should be discussed. So it's a note for the future, you know, workers of the GEMSS third edition, you know, so they can watch this and, you know, decide for themselves. So what do you think about that, Şebnem? I mean, same order of speaking, please.
Okay, I may again start. Well, this is really a complicated question, in which I'm also thinking at the same time how to expand this field into the more international, let's say, venues of or the scales of evaluation at the same time. Perhaps the first important issue about GEMSS is trying to perhaps promote younger architects at national scale at the moment, kind of in Turkey, and trying to just make them seen in terms of research into the field, contribution into the field, and in our evaluation at 2021, we try to expand it more into diverse fields, try to, you know, make them to be seen and make them to be evaluated as architectural contributions. When it expands itself to more international scales, I think, you know, the prospect should be perhaps thought to be expanded with smaller steps, let me say, you know, perhaps a wider proportion of that might be done more in a national selection of, again, certain contributions from diverse fields, and some of the selections, I don't know, if it is 14 now, 10 to 4 or something, might be more in international contributions, applications, and evaluation of those projects in more broader terms. But, you know, how can I say, when it gets wider, you know, when all these applications and the contributions from different countries, from different international, you know, regions are concerned, it may, you know, blend itself into a more global and more, let me say, flattened understanding of, you know, making a selection of a group of architects once again. But we may miss perhaps the chance of focusing on to more local values in that sense. I'm not so sure about how to, make progress with this, selection organization. But according to me, it seems that for, I don't know, 1 or more years, it might be more in national scale, but bringing this exhibition or, taking this exhibition to different countries, to international show-offs, might be kind of more perhaps useful, both for this Circle and GEMSS organization to be known and, perhaps make this a more international activity at the same time. So I'm a bit kind of confused, but these are some of few notes that I may say at the moment.
Thank you, Şebnem.
You're welcome.
What is your take on this, Pelin?
Yeah, again, I agree with what Şebnem says in terms of challenging and encouraging the local assets, let's say, seems to be a more urgent thing to do. When we think about the kind of awards in Turkey, there's not much. There's not much variety, and we need it. And there are lots of international awards or selections and so on, where, let's say, Turkish architects, researchers, designers may appear, and international, of course, designers, architects, etc., can contribute, but vice versa is not that strong. What I mean is we don't have this base in here. So I find it more important to support the local culture first. And the international contribution, from my perspective, is really needed. And this international contribution can really start from the selection committee itself, as we did this time together with Luca Molinari. It brings another perspective, and this let's say, international contribution in the selection committee could be very well, should be very well thought, actually. It doesn't always have to be the Western part of the world, but we need to be in search with other, let's say, neighborhood society as well, who works in this geography, who has something to do with the researches, with the, let's say, architectural production or design production related to this geography again. Another thing to take it into a more international level could be, of course, the most easiest thing is to travel the exhibition, but while doing this, organizing events that contribute to that. And these events will be will be helpful to generate further discussions with the selected architects and the audience in Turkey and wherever it is realized. So that kind of interaction will bring it to a better way of commuting the dialogue. We need that. So for my opinion, encouraging the local community is a priority. Of course, we can think about Turkish people working abroad as well, but I don't want to sound like making a nationalistic selection. I mean, we better focus on the issues in here. So anything, any work, any research, any design that will support the concerns and researches in Turkey will be beneficial for all. Thank you.
All right. Murat, do you have any ideas on this issue? Any suggestions for the future organizers?
Yes, I do have some ideas actually. First of all, I must say that Turkey is too timid about creating international brands, in my view. I mean, we have lots of things that we can market as I don't know, significant contributions to the world culture, but we are unfortunately sometimes timid, sometimes shy, sometimes lazy about doing this, and it's not really rocket science. You know, it's not that difficult to do this. So-called internationally prestigious awards. We can name many awards in many different fields, and they are mostly created originally in the Western Hemisphere. So it's the West that is evaluating the rest of the world as of now. So I mean, these all started as local enterprises or local coverages. Then, you know, with accumulation, it was turned into, or with time and effort, obviously, they were all turned into international and prestigious, globally prestigious awards. So I think, yes, GEMSS must definitely go international. And when it goes international, there's obviously a more pluralist discussion about universal values, because when it stays national, we talk about national issues, which is obviously necessary, but sometimes skipping some universal values is not really does not really help the local issues. I think these different scales, as I said in my previous talk about where I want to see architecture, it's the same thing. It's the wide variety of scales and issues, and obviously when you go international, there is a multi-cultural discussion that has to go, and therefore, as a result, there is the advantage of elimination of biases, because there are so many biases, especially towards this side of the world, that when you organize something and people get to know each other, they suddenly see that it's not what they have in mind as a bias. And in order to maybe go international, I mean, how do you do this? It's an issue. I think it needs to be discussed. First of all, rotation of jury members is quite important in many ways, and obviously involving. I mean, very happily and luckily, we have Luca as an international member, and I guess we have to have more international members of jury in this particular case. And I would also think of involving young generation jury members to attract a wider audience. This, I mean, a local, I mean, national or international, because younger generation, they have a completely different way of communicating with each other that we don't always use, or maybe sometimes we don't prefer to use it, or we can't even use their way of doing things. So I think young, I mean really young, or maybe sometimes even they don't necessarily have to be professionals. Maybe the young jury member just has I don't know, a master's degree in architecture or something. Then they will have a completely different perception of what architecture can be, because they belong to a different generation. And obviously there's also need for heavy social media marketing, because that's where things happen. There's obviously the new concept of metaverse, but I think it's a little bit early for that. But it may be one of the next targets. Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you, Murat. And
Sure.
Luca, what do you say? Your voice.
I'm sorry. It's very interesting discussion you are raising, because I agree with Şebnem and Pelin, the fact that since GEMSS is one of the few real serious awards in Turkey, which is a very complex and alive contest on architecture and on creativities. I must say that every time I come to Turkey, you know how much I used to attend Turkey in the last decade. I've been always very much impressed by the newest generation and the quality of the project, and on the fact that a few of them were able to arrive on the, let's say, the general audience, which is also a problem that sometimes also we as Italians we have in the last years, but I mean on a different scale, let's say. So I think that you know, one of the let's say the political role of an award is to define the quality level. So if you define a real quality level, then everybody will try to follow it. You know, it's a good case. It's a good example. It's something that give the level and ask the next generation to upgrade it. You know, to make it better. So this is very much important. That the cultural and political role of an award is always underestimated in the fact that if it's became successful, then became as a very interesting echo inside the community. So on one side, I would advise to make it stronger in the let's say in the national contest, to define its cultural authority, no? So, and this became and from this point of view, I would suggest to use more the social in relation to the work we selected, no? So to use the project we selected as good example to be shown. So to keep the echo after the exhibition, beyond the exhibition, as part of the global social context, is something that somebody can follow. And this is very important because, you know, social has a longer life than a real exhibition, even though you have a catalog or not. Then the youngest generation use a lot social, and they use a lot in architecture. So can be a very interesting environment where to spread the quality of the selection. On the other, I agree with Şebnem on the fact that if you want to make it stronger, also to give a stronger voice to the authors you selected, it's very important to let it travel somehow. There are a lot of on the same scale small institution, nice institution who does similar things in Europe, so it's easy for them to network with you, no? And to make it travel. So and this is also can be very much important. On the other side, I was wondering about Pelin's discourse on the fact that you need to improve the national situation and also to talk about the geography. This is very interesting to me because we are always I mean, it's natural that Turkish architecture, we are always looking to West. But then there's a closer geography, which is the Middle East, which is not Saudi. I'm talking about the closer Middle East, which is so alive and so interesting. There are a lot of very good architects and designers that are working in different countries around, and that so I would stress this kind of network and geographies to make it stronger, to make it as a real reference to understand what's going on there. I remember that years ago I used to buy Brown magazine, which was the only magazine about Middle East on design and architecture, and to me it was very interesting. It was a bit Londoners, a bit shishi, but it was the only magazine where you can find out new generation, new authors about that part of the world, no? So, because if you don't see it, you don't search for it. So this award has a potential, a very strong responsibility in terms of providing the scenario, the stage to architects of this geographical part of the world, which is growing a lot. And also the so-called thematics and problems of what I call the Mediterranean area are similar. So, and this is also very interesting. So we are not talking about something generalistic or too much universal, but we are talking something that we can understand. And then another small element, and then I stop, is that we sometimes, as our generation, we underestimate the fluidity of the youngest generation. One of the teams we selected was composed by two Erasmus, a Turkish and Italian. And they introduced themselves to me in Milano during an event, no? And this is very typical. For example, in the last 3 years as a professor in Naples, I have an English course, and half of my students come from Istanbul. And it's fun because they know me because of Istanbul, not because of Italy. And but just to say that some of them, then they remain in Italy for other 6 months to make a period of work in some offices, and then they come back. So the geographical fluidity of the students is also related to their fluidity in terms of using the social media in a completely different way. So we must consider the fact that it should remain, I'm sorry, it should, there's my son out of the door. Wait a second, sorry.
Luca is talking about the Erasmus generation, I call. A lot of students are exchanging, they're very mobile.
Sorry, I'm sorry. So, I mean, every year in Naples, only in Naples, we receive 15, 20 Turkish students from the different universities of Istanbul, no? And we are in Naples, it's a small university. So imagine on a larger scale. So I think that to keep it international is very important because you have this kind of interesting mixity, and it's opening to different environment that can look to this award in a very specific way. My advice is to make this award not generic as other awards, but with a specific identity. This will make it stronger in terms of perception. Yeah. So everybody will try to be there because it's the place to be there. It's very important because you cannot compete with the other international awards that have a lot of money, that have a lot of material that you cannot put on the table, which is not the point. It's not a muscular game, but to make it clever in terms of identity would give the younger generation, the context, a stronger perception of what you are doing.
Thank you. I think there's a lot of material for the future organizers. It's a good think tank. Anything to add?
There's Shebnem that has to say something.
Yeah. May I add something after, especially Luca, hearing Luca's thoughts and hearing everyone's ideas about this. Can there be a kind of a suggestion for the, let's say, future or next year's GEMSS committee or approach? I also think that having a kind of a more international, let me say, gesture will be valuable, important. But I also believe that it shouldn't be something generic or something ordinary, something another, let me say, international award attempt. But GEMSS may still keep itself as more, let's say, national awarding committee or system. But at the same time, it may propose just one, let me say, more, let's say, widely collaborative working initiative or a network of a co-working team to be, let's say, nominated as its international award for the coming year. Just one. But this one is not for one person or for one architect, but should be reversing its point of view by saying that it might be a co-working or a network collaboration or an initiative that works, collaboratively on a more bigger scale on the world, which may put its more, let me say, innovative or more inclusive way of looking at the award system and contribution to architecture much more, let me say, seen and explained or presented on its own scale. What I mean is, while selecting the architects on one hand, selecting a team of co-working, let me say, initiative at the international level, which may put its own identity in a more, let's say, discrete manner.
Right.
Might be a suggestion.
Okay,
How to make it expand? How to make it expand?
This is the goal of this pleasant conversation. To have all these contradictory but solid ideas in one space. I think we achieved with this comments. If you don't have anything to add, I think we can finish here. But I looked to your faces and I think you're happy. So thank you very, very much for your time to join this very nice conversation and think tank ideas. So hope to see you some other occasion. I don't know.
Thank you, Sayit Ali. If we have a second, I would like to play something for you.
Please.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Is your brother